While there are a few multiplayer shooters on the Oculus Quest 2, none are as popular as Onward and Contractors, the two giants of multiplayer shooting in standalone virtual reality. So anyone with the new Quest 2 or that wants to get into VR shooters might be asking themselves, which one is better? Well, that might depend on your own taste. Here you'll see, category by category, how the two games compare. Starting with gameplay. Gameplay can mean a lot of things, so let's get a little more specific. How does the game feel to play? What is the moment-to-moment action like? Fun can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, so what kind of fun are you looking for? Well, if you want fast-paced action, then Contractors is probably going to be your go-to game. Often called the Call of Duty of virtual reality, Contractors emphasizes movement, quick reflexes, and constant gunplay. While there are a variety of game modes, more on that later, most of them play out pretty similarly. Spawn, run for a few seconds, see an enemy, fight, see another enemy, fight, die, rinse, repeat. There's constant action and very little waiting. You will die and be in another gunfight in less than 30 seconds. The action never stops. As for the gunplay, it plays out really quickly, but gives you a chance to react. It takes quite a few bullets to take someone down, depending on the weapon, though generally at least 5 to 6, and headshots are instant kills. All weapons are very accurate, and most have really low recoil. It is easy to fire fully automatic and hit your target almost every time. Health also regenerates automatically, which means that tactics like jumping out of cover or sliding past your enemies are completely viable without risking instant death. If you want a fast-paced rush where you can jump and power slide across the ground while spraying with an AK, Contractors delivers on that. Otherwise, if you just don't like waiting around and don't have a whole lot of time to get into a game before you have to take your quest off, Contractors offer some quick action. So what about Onward? Well, if Contractor sounds too arcadey and fast-paced for you, then chances are you will love this alternative.
I'm gonna go this way. If you hear shots, that are coming this way, but don't follow. Let's get two people facing each way.
Most Onward games play out like search and destroy matches. A team of 5 against a team of 5, 1 life only per round, no respawn. There is a respawn option, but you will see that less often in public lobbies, and respawns take about 10 to 15 seconds just to get back into the game with them enabled. All of this means that your life is more precious in Onward, because once you die, you'll be waiting for a new round to play again, which usually means another couple of minutes before more action at the very least. Couple this with a very low time to kill, a single bullet can kill easily, no way you'll live through 3, makes for a very slow-paced and cautious game. You might even call it realistic. Whatever you call it, Onward offers less action but more tension. Running into the open where an enemy can see you means almost certain death. And while reflexes will definitely matter in some situations, especially in close quarters combat, careful thinking and outsmarting your opponent will give you victory more often than just being good at shooting does. The fun in Onward isn't in run jumping into a room spraying bullets, but crouch walking behind a wall, peeking into windows, and waiting for an enemy's head to appear. Onward is for those that like milsims or just more slowly paced shooters where quick reflexes and movement aren't everything. Still, that isn't all there is to both of those games. There's still other features to consider, like the game modes. There's no use beating around the bush here. Contractors blows Onward out of the water when it comes to game modes, and more are being added all of the time. Contractors has been a consistently improved and expanded game through constant updates, while Onward has remained largely the same for the past year or so. That being said, not all of Contractor's game modes are very good, but you will probably find something that you enjoy. Base game modes include your typical capture the flag style gameplay with 16 players in a single match. This is called Ground War. There's also Team Deathmatch, Escort the VIP, the usual hits, and a little bit more. With a good variety of maps included in the game, there are also World War II and Ninja game modes, where the weapons are all replaced with World War II variants, or in the case of the Ninja game mode, everyone gets a bow, katana, and smoke bombs. They're all great fun and very different from one another, though preferences and opinions may vary. There are also quite a few single-player missions. While the AI is pretty incompetent, fighting a lot of them can be very fun. There's some escorting missions, enemy leader assassination missions, and those leaders just end up being super buffed AI enemies, so it's more of a boss fight than an assassination, and more. While the single player is not enough alone to justify buying the game, it's not a bad way to warm up from time to time, and can be experienced in co-op and multiplayer. What's more interesting is the co-op survival mode, where a team of 4 players faces off against a wave of enemies. The later waves get very intense, and there is decent variety in the enemies that you face, from guys with SMGs to explosive-laden attack dogs. It's a challenge, and it's good fun. There's also a lackluster survival zombie mode that feels like it needs more effort put into it, though hopefully that will be fixed one day with updates. The thing that really makes Contractors stand out is its support of custom game modes and maps. Want to experience classics from the old Call of Duty games in VR? Maps from every classic installment of the series, such as the Modern Warfares and the Black Opses, can be found in Contractors to fight over again in virtual reality. These maps are the most popular and the most fun. Arenas from other games are present as well, like Halo 3. Custom game modes like Gun Game are also present in Contractors, so when you get tired of capturing flags, there's a lot more to do. Really, there's far too many choices to list here, and more are being added all of the time. Custom loadouts are a more recent addition to the Contractors modding scene, and they really round out custom experiences. Want Halo guns for your Halo map? Now that's possible, and you'll even be wearing Master Chief's armor while you use them. Want Star Wars droids fighting clone troopers on Call of Duty's terminal map? Well, that's possible now too. These mods are now capable of even affecting the pace of gameplay, with guns that are less accurate and with more shots required for a kill. Some of these custom loadouts and maps are even capable of affecting the core gameplay feel of Contractors and make it even faster or more slowly paced. Unfortunately, Onward does not have modding support outside of some custom maps. Still, the game modes in Onward are pretty good. There are two main game modes in multiplayer: send the uplink, type some numbers in front of a dish the other team is defending, and escort the VIP. Make sure one player with only a pistol makes it to one of 2 points on the map. If that player dies, then you lose. There's also Gun Game, which is pretty fun, though it fits better in a faster paced game like Contractors, and a bizarre game mode called Spec Ops.
You know what this game mode is?
I don't even know. I just started playing this game today, dude.
We have knives, they have guns, one mag of a Glock, and we gotta stab them before they shoot us.
Spec Ops is some kind of misnomer. Something like Zombie or Infection would be a better name. In this mode, one team moves really quickly and is armed with knives, while the other team moves normally and has pistols with a single magazine of ammunition. Whichever team is wiped out first, loses. Oh, and the map looks foggy, so it's hard to see far. Spec Ops is, well, it's a bit weird. It doesn't really fit into the rest of Onward's lineup, but is a decent distraction for a few rounds. And also, as a more recent addition to the Onward's game modes, it shows that there might be some promise for more interesting stuff to be added in the future. But for now, this is what we have. These game modes do take familiar archetypes and do interesting things with them, but there isn't really nearly as much variety here as there is in Contractors. On the other hand, the built-in maps that Onward comes with are fantastic, and come with a variety of spawn points and objective locations that change between rounds to keep them fresh. While the custom maps for Onward might show some promise in time, so far what the community has created has not surpassed Onward's original maps. Now, Onward does have a far better single-player experience than Contractors does, with two game modes: Hunt, where you must defeat all AI enemies on the map, or Evac, where you must fight off or evade waves of enemies and escape in a helicopter. All in all, Onward has a better single player, mostly through the virtue of slightly better AI opponents, who aren't terribly lifelike, but at least take cover sometimes and manage to shoot straight. Still, the single player is not enough on its own, except as a nice warm-up and a decent couple of hours of AI stopping. But what about weapons and loadouts? Now, what is a shooter without a ton of weapons to shoot and customize? Well, in this category, Onward outshines Contractors. There are just more possibilities for customization in Onward, where in Contractors, you get some choices like what weapon to take and whether or not to use a foregrip or silencer. Contractors also has a few optics to choose from, depending on the weapon, though the options are very limited. Contractors does also offer a choice between light, medium, and heavy armor. The thinking being that more armor means slower movement, and less armor means faster movement, not to mention the grenades and melee weapons there are to choose from. Meanwhile, Onward offers more viable variations of loadouts depending on the situation, or player preference. Let me explain. In Onward, there is a greater variety of options to play around with. You can choose between AP and FMJ ammunition, whether or not to take extra body armor or extra healing items. Night vision is an option for night maps, and so are lasers and flashlights on your weapon. Bipods are an option in addition to foregrips. There are riot shields and RPGs available, or even an underbarrel grenade launcher on a couple of weapons. You can take a flying drone for scouting and put C4 on it for the classic exploding drone technique. The options you have to customize your loadouts in Onward are far beyond what Contractors offers, and the slower pace of gameplay makes optimizing your loadout and playing with all the options very rewarding. There are also 4 roles you can take in Onward: Rifleman, Specialist, Support, and Sniper. Some weapons or gear are shared between these roles, and some are exclusive. Each role gets 2 loadout slots for a total of 8 loadouts. Contractors only gives you 5 loadouts, though there are another 5 for the World War II game mode, and each can use any weapon. As for those weapons, while there seems to be a wide variety, you will quickly find that some are just not as good as others. What the current meta is becomes apparent pretty quickly when you see what weapons you're getting killed by in public lobbies. Some weapons are just much better at killing opponents faster than others, so the worst weapons just never get used once you realize how terrible they are. In Contractors, you will find that only 1 or 2 weapons in each category are actually useful, which means there's less variety than there seems to be. Not only that, but the sound and feeling of firearms is different between the 2 games, and once more Onward outshines Contractors. The weapons in Contractors really need better sounds. Suppressed or unsuppressed, they often sound like airsoft guns. In Onward, each weapon has a respectable report that sounds much closer to an actual gunshot, and bullets will snap as they pass near your head, while in Contractors, you'll generally only notice that you're being shot when your screen goes red. While the weapons in Contractors have a variety of spray patterns and recoil, you will generally be firing them at close range and fully automatic to try and spray down your opponent as quickly as possible. Onward has many maps with wide open spaces, such as Downfall, that require careful aiming and encourage sniping. Sniper rifles are rarely very good in Contractors. The recoil of weapons in Onwards makes firing full auto at anything other than close range is more difficult, and overall feels more like firing an actual gun than an airsoft gun. So in conclusion, there you have it. The breakdown of Onward versus Contractors on the Oculus Quest 2. Each outshines the other in some areas, whichever sounds better is totally up to you and your preference, though you definitely might enjoy both of them. One other important thing to note is that Contractors more consistently receives large updates than Onward does, and Contractors updates tend to be of very high quality, though 1 or 2 haven't been quite as good. Contractors has become better overall due to these frequent updates, whereas Onward has kind of stagnated. Now, maybe they have something big in the works, or maybe they're working on another game that uses assets from Onward, but as it stands right now, Contractors may quickly outstrip its competitors simply due to the amount of new content and improvements being added. Whichever one you pick, have fun in VR and enjoy yourself. This has been Reality Remake. Have a good one.